Following the dismissal of Graziano Di Prima and Giovanni's departure from the show earlier in the week, another unnamed professional dancer who's no longer part of the show is allegedly being investigated. This comes after it's been reported that they're struggling to sign female celebrities and they're going to introduce chaperones. Sonia, your thoughts?
So there's clearly an issue here with Strictly because this is now the third dancer that there are allegations swirling around. And in relation to one of them, it wasn't just one celebrity flagging concerns, it was multiple celebrities. And I think there's probably something about the show where you've got these people in these incredibly intensive training situations. A lot of them train all day, every day for that show on Saturday. It's just two of you. And these professional dancers, some of whom may have been trained in sort of a particular way of thinking around dancing where you've just got to be the best. Maybe they've been bullied themselves and then they're taking that potentially into a relationship with a celebrity dancer. Now, that is obviously not okay. And some of the allegations are actually, they're allegations at this stage have not been investigated, but they're quite serious around, verbal abuse, but also potentially some physical abuse. So it is very serious for the BBC. I think that's why they've come out and talked about chaperones. But I think there's probably something deeper here as well, which is that if you're putting these people who've trained and trained and trained to be professionals with celebrities, it's supposed to be a fun show. Yeah. And lots of celebrities say they have a brilliant experience, but some of them are now coming out and saying it was quite a horrible experience. And it's supposed to be fun. And so it's kind of like, what else is the BBC doing? Because these pro dancers are going from being pro dancers to training people who've never danced before. Yeah. That's a different skill set. So what is the BBC doing to help them pick up those skills? But there's that question, and then there is the fact that actually some of the allegations, it's just behaviour that everyone should know is not okay. So chaperones, good, but I think the BBC has got to think more about how it supports these professional dancers to train celebrities too.
Sarah, what are your thoughts on it?
I think that's a really good analysis. I think the thing about dancers is that it's a tough profession and you have to get used to a lot of people, they're in pain a lot of the time. They have to do stuff, they push their bodies. And I suppose if you're, if I were to go on Strictly, I'm a middle-aged, middle-aged woman, I think I'd struggle to bring that level of commitment. And I think if you're one of those professional dancers and it's it's competitive, you're trying to win the competition, you're trying to prove that you're the best teacher as well as the best dancer, and you've got someone who's a bit kind of, can we go and have a fag and a coffee now?
It must be frustrating for the dancer when you've got someone who can't do it. Yeah, it must be frustrating for them.
That is the show.
Yeah. I think that's the joy of the show. Yeah, is you take ordinary people and you turn them into kind of semi-professional dancers. Yeah.
And some of them are amazing and then some of them are a bit...
And I think one of the reasons that Strictly has gone off a bit recently is because the contestants are sort of almost too good.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had people like Anne Whittaker,
who
was sort of... John Sargent, who were kind of hopeless.
Walking around like a sack of
you used to look forward to their dance together.
But that was a real challenge, for the dancers, for the professional dancers. And now you've got people who are obviously, quite good at it already, and probably. So I think there's a sort of. I think Strictly's. Is it 20 years that Strictly's been on?
Yeah.
I think it needs to rethink itself a little bit if it's going to move into the next phase.
Let's speak to Terry Hyde, who's joined us down the line, who's a psychotherapist and former ballet dancer with the Royal Ballet and offers counselling for former dancers. CEO of a charity called STEPS, offers students and professional dancers and teachers help with their mental health. Thanks for joining us, Terry.
Good morning.
So can you see how
Thank you for asking me. Good morning.
Can you see how this situation has happened?
Well, it happens all the time in the dance world. Unfortunately, there's still an old school way of teaching. And those dancers on Strictly have started at an early age. So if they're in their late 20s, early 30s at the moment, they've been doing it for 25 odd years. And it's a fixed mindset. And by having this fixed mindset, they're adding perfectionism to it and all of these things that they must get right because they're trained in fear of not being good enough and the fear of not pleasing people. And it's carried through into a performance. Not all good dancers are good teachers. Not all good dancers are good choreographers. Not all good dancers are good as directors or artistic directors and people management. And that's the issue. It's learning how to work with others who don't have that same mindset. Now, you've had athletes on and you've had sports people on. They would have a training ethic there and a mindset of needing to get things right. And they are the ones that will probably work better with the professionals than the other celebrities who haven't had the same background.
And just quickly, do you think it's a good idea for them to have chaperones in the rehearsal room?
Definitely not. No, it's an aspirin to get rid of a headache. So the analogy is an aspirin for a headache. The headache will go away for a short while, but it'll come back because you haven't found out why you've got the headache.
Oh, that's interesting.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, Terry.
Deeper than that. I'm sorry?
I said thank you so. We have to move on. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your insight. Take care. Thank you.
Right,
Thank you so much.
Really interesting that someone there who's in the coalface of it, works with charity, doesn't think chaperones are a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, it's like great footballers don't always make great football managers, do they? So I think it's probably the same thing a bit.
The thing is, do you think more complaints will come out now when one victim comes forward? Normally, more come forward, don't they?
Well, and Zara McDermott has said, the person who sort of complained about one of the dancers and, you know, alleged some quite serious behaviour, which he denies, but she said that one of the things that stopped her coming forward was just she saw what happened to Amanda Abington, who also dropped out, and it turned out that she said she had a really unpleasant experience. And the vitriol that was directed, because there's so much focus on the dancers, the celebrities, and so Zara McDermott was scared to come forward, and then she did, and I think actually maybe we will, who knows, that there are lots of celebrities who say it was absolutely brilliant, and of course there are going to be loads of pro dancers who are brilliant coaches, but I suspect maybe we will hear some more.
I think there's a world though where all these shows, and having worked on a big show, they evolve. Your duty of care evolves as the world evolves around you.
Yeah.
And they'll have to find a middle ground where those dancers, the ones that are entrusted with these celebrities, are able to coach them, are able to choreograph them, are able to be the boss, because that's important, and to be competitive without crossing any lines.
Absolutely, because that's the whole point of reality TV. It's real people with real feelings and real emotions. They're not actors. And I think it's very interesting, actually, in recent years, so many shows have actually come up, against criticism and then have made changes as a result. And they've got better.
Yeah.
We have had a right of reply from the BBC why we would never comment on individual cases. It is well known that the BBC has established a robust duty of care procedures, and if issues are raised, we will always take them seriously and act swiftly as appropriate.